because this is not about crime. This is about profiling us. And if we're afraid to stand up, then we are not deserving of those that stood up and gave their lives so we could live a better life than they did.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was an excerpt of the Reverend Al Sharpton's recent speech to students at Howard University over the last weekend. Sharpton says that President Trump's threats to take over cities where black mayors are leading is racial profiling and has nothing to do with public safety, contrary to what the president might say. Sharpton's remarks come as his organization, the National Action Network, is hosting an annual march. This year, instead of going to Washington, as they usually do, the march will be held on Wall Street to target businesses that have been following and funding President Trump's anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda. Sharpton says that these businesses must be held accountable. The march is going to start at the African Burial Ground National Monument at 10 a.m. and then head down to Wall Street. Joining me now to talk about that and much more is the Reverend Al Sharpton. Welcome back to the program. Always good to see you.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
Normally you convene a march to commemorate the famous 1963 March on Washington. Why Wall Street this year?
Well, every 5 years since 2000, Martin Luther King III and I have said every 5 years we want to do the State of the Dream. Martin Luther King, his father, in 63 at the first march, historic march, did the speech known as I Have a Dream. So we say it's not about commemorating, it's about let's measure where we are. And the first year, 2000, we did it. Mrs. King introduced this and sort of like gave us the assignment. Now, 25 years later, we said about 3 months ago, the problem this year, we're killing DEI, which takes out people's jobs, people in the C-suites, business contracts. We are seeing the elimination of things in various areas of economic opportunity. These are all being financed by people on Wall Street. We see that Trump has returned the tax cuts of 2017 that Biden-Harris had taken out. He's returned that. Who's getting those tax cuts? People on Wall Street. And who's paying for it? They've taken money out of Medicaid, taken money out of SNAP. So we said, let's go to Wall Street this year rather than Washington. This is before we knew they would have the National Guard there anyway, so it's providential we're going to Wall Street. And people are coming from all over the country. I just got off a cell phone, and we've got at least 20 cities coming in buses. Okay,
we will be watching for them. In a recent speech, that very same speech, as a matter of fact, you criticized Trump for an anti-crime agenda targeted apparently at cities with black mayors, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Baltimore. Do you think New York might be next?
I have no idea. He mentioned New York, then he has not mentioned it again. My problem is, and that speech was this past Sunday at Howard University. I was their morning minister, preacher at the service at Rankin Chapel. And what I was saying was, how do you have Chicago, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Oakland, L.A., New York, all black mayors? So no white mayors have high crime? The crime rate in Louisiana, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, is from, in his district, Shreveport, the crime rate is higher than it is in Washington, D.C. Why don't you send some National Guard there? So clearly this is to play to a crowd that blacks can't run things, and to try to get the Epstein files out of the news. I'm going to throw red meat, black folks at them. That went good for 2 or 3 days. Everybody's looking at that. Now let's throw Lisa Cook. Here's a woman, governor in the Federal Reserve. Somebody says she may have done something with a mortgage. Has not been prosecuted, not been indicted, less known convicted. A man with 34 felony convictions and been found fraud in civil court of how he does business. And he's gonna recommend, even before there's an investigation, she be taken off the Federal Reserve. He's the first felon to sit behind the desk in the Oval Office in the history of this country.
Let me mention that I think in the same speech you talked about redistricting efforts as well. What do you think is happening there in Texas?
It's obvious. They want to add 5 Republican seats at the expense of several black seats, by the way, including Jasmine Crockett may be at risk. They want to add this because they want to do whatever they can to keep the majority of the House of Representatives Republican, keep Hakeem Jeffries out as the Speaker, because if he's Speaker, he can help determine a lot of the calendar for legislation, chairmanships and all. And this is a blatant attempt to manipulate the districting in different states. And I think that what Gavin Newsom is saying and what Kathy Hochul is saying, they have to be counted.
Okay, let me switch topics. The Legionnaires' outbreak has led to, among other things, at least one lawsuit. I think it's really a workplace lawsuit where two workers are suing the companies that had them working near, I think, some of the cooling towers. I know that you spoke at the announcement of the lawsuit, and I think it was held actually at the House of Justice at your organization. What's the connection, and how did things get so bad in Harlem, do you think?
That's what we want to know. It was when I heard that a number of the people that were ill were in Harlem, all in central Harlem, and then there's up to 6 deaths now. Why was it neglect based on you wanted to look at one area and you didn't deal with checking the contamination or the bacteria in water? Why Harlem? So when they came to us and they got Attorney Ben Crump, who will be speaking at the march as well Thursday, to take the case, I wanted to stand with them because I don't understand how in a city as big as this, Harlem ends up with the weight of this. And I think that it was our duty to stand up and say something.
Has the city's response been adequate, in your opinion?
I've not dealt with it. I know that the attorneys are dealing with it.
Okay, let me switch to the race for mayor. Eric Adams was one of the incorporators of your organization, the National Action Network. Has he remained true to the principles of the organization, do you think?
I mean, on some things we've agreed and some things we've disagreed. And we've done that the whole 34 years of National Action Network. Eric Adams and I have learned how to disagree without being disagreeable. I also have had a good relationship now with Zoran Mandami. I think that he's shown a dynamism. He's been to the House of Justice before we even knew who he was. He served food there all day last Christmas. When he told us that, we checked the videotape. It's true. I've also had an open door relationship with Andrew Cuomo, and all 3 of them I expect to be marching with us on Thursday.
Okay. Does the mayor, in your opinion, still have the support of black voters? They overwhelmingly were with him 4 years ago.
I think there's some controversy, but we'll see. And again, I think that the question is going to be who can turn out their voters, and I think that who has an argument. You still have a long time between now and Election Day, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see who makes their closing arguments after Labor Day, which is why after our march on Thursday, which the 3 of them will be at, I'm going to be very careful who I march with in the Western Day Parade on Monday.
Oh yeah, I will see you out there on Monday. The city is being sued by the city's Commission on Racial Equity. Jennifer Jones-Austin, who I know is
Vice Chairman of our board.
Vice Chairman of your board. For not releasing mandatory information about racial disparities in and around New York City government as required by law, thanks to a referendum a few years ago. What does that say to you?
It says to me that there's no excuse for that. I think Jennifer Jones-Austin is right on this. How do you not do it by law? And then why not? Because the fact is, as we're defending this city with a black mayor, how do we not defend the people dealing with racial equity? That's part of the march on Thursday. The fact that people use Dr. King's name and then can deal with letting things like measuring equity go unnoticed, unresearched, and then not released to the public is an absolute disgrace.
The president this week issued this executive order threatening to defund cities that have what he's calling cashless bail. I'm not sure exactly what that phrase is supposed to mean, but the intent seems pretty clear. It's aimed at cities like New York, in fact, where the laws changed in the wake of the George Floyd protests, right?
I think that clearly that he's again playing to that base. Let's not forget that Donald Trump was the president when George Floyd happened. I helped lead a lot of those marches. I preached every one of George Floyd's funeral. I think people forget that Donald Trump was president when Floyd happened, Ahmaud Arbery happened, young man killed by whites in Brunswick, Georgia, and Breonna Taylor killed by police in Louisville, Kentucky. So the reason I know a movement can neutralize Trump is we did it in 20. How are you afraid of somebody you already beat?
Interesting. Okay, we will be watching. We'll see you at the march. Thanks so much for coming by. Good to see you.
Thank you. Always good to see you.